Test, test.
Hey guys, good morning. I hate Apple. AT&T. They're all just brutal companies. Terrible. Terrible, I said.
I stopped using Apple years ago, other than my iPad now. I got weaseled into getting that.
I know, but too many people use Apple and the iPhones. Didn't we have issues with you because you didn't use an iPhone with something?
Yeah, because the texting, everybody else was using, iPhone and the texting.
But it doesn't sync all the time.
Oh.
Something.
Well, on my end, everything looks fine.
But what was the issue, though?
I think it's
Hello,
if
guys. Welcome to the show before the show. We talk tech.
Yeah. If you say I liked one of your text messages, it would come back as an actual text message saying, Joe liked your text or whatever. You know what I mean?
Okay.
That was the issue that everybody said that they got double messages because anytime I would emote one of the...
I just sent you a Trump quote too, by the way. Thank you, buddy. I got you.
No problem.
Is the music off for a reason? Oh, there we go, buddy.
Yeah, it fades at 3 different points.
Hey, can you send me a link? I'm trying to send a link to our guests today. I've got some issues going with my phone. I can't go back and get... Let me see here. I'm trying to text a link to a person. Thank you, buddy. Hey, guys, welcome to the show before the show. Good morning.
send it to your email?
Can you text me the link? Is that possible?
I have to email it to myself, copy it, then text it to you.
Okay, if you send it to my email.
Oh,
but
you
my
don't have
emails,
access to your email?
Yeah, I'm trying
Okay,
to
all right,
figure out.
I'll get it for you.
Let me see if I can. Hold on a second here. I'm using 2 different phones. That's like Thank you, Joe.
You're welcome.
Hey, Todd Press, good morning to you, buddy. We've got one lawyer, Bogdan Suzanne, coming on at about 9:45 today. Joe and I looked at each other. It's like, I didn't think this music was in the playlist.
I picked the wrong one this morning.
Hey, baby. What's going on? Greg says, before I read, I'm always where, most of the time we're all dumber for what we hear Greg say. And I say that affectionately. Before I read this, okay, it is a show before the show. Did you know that the shortest time to elect a pope was 10 hours? Pope Julius II, 1503. The longest was 2 years, 9 months, and 6 days. Pope Gregory. That was intelligent. Thank you. You educated me. But I also heard that Pope John Paul II said the longer that this conclave goes, the less meals they receive to try to get them to force. I don't know.
Sounds interesting. Sounds like it'd work. I wonder if they do that during like deliberations for trials and stuff.
Can you turn my mic off? I have to make a call. Let's get it started. Hey guys, welcome into cancelthisshow.com. Vic Faust here, Pro Joe behind the scenes, Eric Johnson en route. That's right, Eric Johnson coming back in just a little bit. Megan Marie Moret setting her up. She'll be in on Monday as well as we continue to rock and roll here. You know what we do? News, news headlines, what's happening in politics. The year 2025, not only around our country, but around the world as well. Lots to get to today as well. Coming up at about 9:45, the guy who I really respect, he helped me out a long time ago, lawyer Bogdan Suzan out of Columbia, Missouri. He's helping in this whole NIL deal. You've probably heard the word or the term NIL when it comes to high school athletes, college athletes, people making money and so forth. Nick Saban asked Donald Trump to get involved in this. I do not want Donald Trump to get involved in NIL.
What are you talking about? College portal?
We'll get into that coming up at 9:45 as well. A little off the beaten path, but still something that Donald Trump may get involved in at some point in time.
Yeah.
All right. Coming up on the show today, why can't we just stop the protesting that is illegal on these college campuses? Literally protesters pushing police around Columbia University last night. We'll get into that. Donald Trump's new his new Surgeon General nominee is a complete badass. You listen to her and you tell me what you think. It's what we all know. She's saying the quiet part out loud, which is freaking fantastic. We'll get into that. Scott Jennings continues to dominate on CNN. I can't believe they continue to allow him to go on CNN and dominate the way that he does. Bernie Sanders caught in a lie. Brett Baer asking some tough questions about all of his plane rides all over the place. And the first country that is publicly going with the new tariffs and the new trade situation, it's UK. And go figure, just a few nights ago, there were a bunch of people who do not like Donald Trump stating they're going to bring policy against the United States. Who's first in line? Me, UK. Let me get in line there. But we got a lot to get to today and more. So welcome into the show, guys. Appreciate that you're here. There's the man, the myth, the legend, Eric Johnson.
Yes.
Hadn't seen you in a while. It's good to see you face to face again, buddy.
How long has it been?
I don't know.
Oh, by the way,
2 months.
happy Papal Conclave Week to you.
Oh, yeah.
I'm sure that's a very large deal.
You know what? You know what? Here's the thing. It should be larger. Trying to be the devout Catholic that I am.
Yeah.
You know what? I appreciate that it becomes more mainstream, but if it becomes more mainstream in those times, then you need to actually teach what the faith's all about.
I guess.
Not that it's just some, it's white smoke, it's black smoke. Or in the case of Donald Trump, it's orange smoke.
I have only a few friends that are so Catholic that they're like part of Knights of Columbus and stuff like that. And so every time I see the smoke, I always think of you, and I'm always like,
stop.
And I'm like, how much more?
When I see smoke, I think of Pro Joe.
But it is everyone's this is not a political thing. Bull crap. It is people who are like, I want the church to be more liberal.
Yeah.
Well, I kind of want the church to be like it was the way it says it's supposed to be in the Bible.
Great point.
I mean, it's a fascinating thing because if they don't become more liberal, if they don't progress, they're going to lose congregation, correct?
No. You don't give in.
I don't want to
just because
Bogart the show here. But I'm just saying,
people change doesn't mean God changes.
That's what I'm saying.
Then you become a leaner group. But the key is you have to become the meaner part.
Yes.
You can't be a fake and a phony, because that's why I ran from the church in the first place. And
yes, Cardinal Francis, the first openly transsexual
Oh my
Pope.
God. But the media misinterpreted a lot of his words, sayings, and teachings as well.
I know.
Whatever.
Anyway, I think about you all the time. Every time I see that little smoke thing on the top of the Sistine
Well,
Chapel.
let me see where I had the conclave and the Pope in the show today. Well, nowhere. But that's all right.
Yeah, that's up to them to decide.
Eric
right?
adding a little
Okay.
but seriously, since you've last been in, How excited are you to see what Donald Trump's doing when it comes to tariffs and financial situations?
So the thing about the tariffs,
and that's the thing I wanted to set the stage with that really quick.
Yeah, that's fine.
Britain is now, UK is now jumping on board. They are jumping on board talking about their new situation when it comes to tariffs and what they're going to be doing. So they're making a deal with the United States right now. 70 countries coming to the table.
So the way I look at all this tariff stuff is yes, I'm sorry, your Temu bill is about to go up. Your wish.com bill is about to go up. If you want to get that nice little couch in the corner of your house from Wayfair, it's about to go up. But guess what? The United States, I wish to God, it's been a long time since I've been here because we didn't talk about tariffs unless. But here's the deal.
Yes.
Here's what your homework assignment is for this week.
Oh, I got a homework assignment.
You're going to get in your car. Mm-hmm. You're going to drive straight north through Illinois. Then you're going to make a left and go up through the Dakotas. And then you're going to come back down and you're going to see all these towns that used to produce things. That used to have metal factories and
I like where this is going.
And tooling places and even places that used to create Barbie dolls. They're dead. They died. They are ghost towns. They don't have enough money to put real blinds in their houses. Their front yards are disgusting. But here's the deal. Back in the 50s, 60s, 70s, and up to the 80s, these places were thriving. Mm-hmm. That is your homework assignment, is to know that just because you live on the coast on a nice house with a boat outside, parts of the country have been just ransacked.
I agree.
From taking these businesses overseas.
I agree.
Why in the F aren't some media outlets covering this and saying, look, all right, we know we all hate Trump. My God, look how ugly he is. He's purple, he's green, he's orange, whatever. But let's take a step back as journalists and go, what happened to the country that we were not self-sufficient anymore? And now we have 12-year-olds making our little plastic products that we buy at Walmart. What happened? And do a deep dive. I would love to see NPR do that. You know what? If NPR doesn't,
NPR's going away.
Well, they think they're not.
Trump's he cut their funding, which they never should have had in the first place.
So when I think of tariffs,
not one conservative editor in their entire newsroom.
Look, this is not the 50s anymore, 60s. We don't need NPR anymore. We have so many outlets. It's unbelievable. We don't have to have the Jerry Lewis telethons anymore.
But you've seen media. Media doesn't cover the full truth, Eric.
But that's what I'm saying. I guess my point is this, is it's so right in front of your face. It's like, yes, we can hate Donald Trump at our cocktail parties, but at some point, if you want to do a service to the country, take a step back, talk about how this country was the innovator behind the modern world coming out of World War I and World War II.
We're on our way.
Right? How we were the ones that invented space travel. We were the ones that invented everything. Yes, we
did not go to the moon first.
Come on. I'm done with that conversation.
We didn't.
I'm done with that conversation. All right. Alien galaxies. We're not talking about that. But
does that mean we can't talk about David Lee Roth and Sammy Hagar either?
You can talk about David Lee Roth and Sammy all you want.
Okay.
They're both should hang it up and go to Branson, Missouri and start a little theater or something like that, because they're done. They're cooked. But anyway, so the tariff thing is so important to me because he's absolutely 100 million% correct. Wherever he is right now in those negotiations, we're going to have free trade. We're going to bring back our IP, our intellectual property. Yes. And we're going to build the United States back up. And you know what? And you know what? The rest of the world is going to benefit from that as well. We are going to be able to innovate again, keep our money here. If I wanted to fix North St. Louis, if you're not from St. Louis, go there sometime. You'll have a beautiful day.
Oh, yeah.
If you want to fix North St. Louis, you literally have to go in there with a bulldozer. If you're honest with yourself, you have to move everybody out of the way, kind of like Gaza. You have to move everybody out of North St. Louis, go in there with a bulldozer, and make it the streets of St. Charles.
By the way, David Lee Roth was.
Am I lying?
Well, I don't think you want to do it like Gaza.
Well, I mean, I'm just, you don't want to use Moab 2,000-pound bombs.
I got the idea. By the way, the Chinese are, and I've seen video out of China, Chinese manufacturing companies laying off millions of people. Protest.
Well, why do you think?
Protest in that country, that communist country, at banks.
Yeah.
This is the effect of Donald Trump. Like him or not, the tariffs are working. The stock market is up. Yes, I saw that coming from you guys letting us know that even, Greg, even with tariffs, the Dow is up over $1,000 since last Thursday's earnings report. And the Feds didn't drop any interest rates.
Well,
I'm telling you, it's working. And Donald Trump talking about some of the success as well, coming out on Truth Social when it comes to some of the things that are going on. I love the fact that we have Donald Trump saying this. Here it is. Trump's putting this out this morning. The agreement with the United Kingdom is a full and comprehensive one that will cement the relationship between the United States and the United Kingdom for many years to come. Because of our long time history and allegiance together, it is a great honor to have the United Kingdom as our, all caps, first, as our first announcement. Many other deals, which are in serious stages of negotiation, to follow, exclamation point.
Yeah.
And mainstream media was telling us just 2 days ago, oh, they oppose the United States. They oppose Donald Trump. No, that's why we say you cannot listen to local media or national media when they try to talk politics on a national front. Keep to your local weather, keep to your local sports, your local city councils. When it comes to national politics, they do not understand.
Yeah. I mean, this is a great thing. This is Brexit in action. Basically,
Kind of is.
It is. No, it is, because
Yeah.
they were part of the union and they were like, no, hold on. We're going to negotiate our own deals. This is going to be like the most, it just makes sense. Trading with our first partner, Britain, and the
Well, they're
UK.
kind of our lapdog now.
They wouldn't see it that way.
They don't see it that way, but
No.
that's what they are. But the thing I love about them is I hope Trump takes care of them because they were the first to come out.
Sure, they will,
They
because
did.
they're right next
Just
to
like I hope Trump's taking care of El Salvador for taking all the
Yes.
prisoners into that country.
Yes, that is exactly right.
They literally went in there and removed corrupt judges.
Yeah.
Like, look, we're not going to follow
Yeah.
the bullshit. We're
Yeah.
taking what we need to do to start fresh.
Yeah.
And I'm sure the money's flying in from the United States.
Yeah. You can see it. If you're a smart person, and no one in the liberal media is smart, no one.
There are some super intelligent people in the
Name
media.
them.
They just
I want you to name them.
They refuse to talk
No.
about the honesty that's out there.
That's what I'm talking. You're a damn journalist. It's in your name.
I told you.
Name one.
Some of them. Well, from
Name a
national-
journalist, and local, national. I don't care. Name one journalist that says,
I'm
let
not
me
gonna
take
say
a
any
step
local-
back here. Let me just take a step back here, and let's go all over the good stuff. Gang members from over the border are being rounded up and put wherever the hell they're being put. Tariffs is a hard one to break
who's
down.
Intelligent?
Who?
Who's bringing up the truth but still
Who?
won't like Trump? Bill Maher.
Yes. But I don't look at him as a journalist. He's kind of like us. He just kind of rants. He has cocktails in his club.
Well, if you're a journalist, you have to have your own site.
He's not a journalist.
Because if you're a
He
journalist,
doesn't cite sources.
you have to the term journalist.
That's what you do.
is
Come on,
kinda,
let's go back to
we're
the
a combo.
We're going back to the Marconi days.
We dirtied the water from that standpoint. That's for sure.
But no. You understand what a
I do.
journalist is.
Yeah.
You understand that I need
Yeah.
two sources, not one source. I cannot interject my own opinion into this. My essay has to have a very clear thesis to it, and that thesis has to be supported by sources. Put it in the teleprompter. If you have any questions, right? That's what journalism is.
We appreciate you guys jumping in on the podcast platform. You can do it from Facebook. You can do it from X, from Rumble, and YouTube. That's where you can watch us live. I love your comments. By the way, breaking news. Glenn says the United Kingdom, the first Muslim country to come to terms.
Oh, my God.
Okay, that's a good one.
That was a good one.
Paul says so-called journalists have disappeared because it's all about who's first and not about the truth. And it's also who your boss is and where you're getting your money from.
Look,
and that's even on the local side as well. There are those instances. I realized it for 25
3 years ago, journalists decided, because they are in the know. Here you go, and then I'll call it a day. 3 years
Don't
ago.
call it a day yet.
3 years ago, colluding journalists
Oh, I like
decided
that
not
word.
journalists decided not to report on Biden's mental state.
Mhm.
3 years ago, they decided not to try to find out who was auto penning all of the documents that Biden didn't even know how to auto pen. There is and that seems to me like malpractice. If they were doctors, they would all be fired. If they were lawyers, they'd be disbarred. They're journalists. Oh, it's freedom of speech. Our freedom of non-speech. What you don't say sometimes in journalism is just as bad as what you do say.
Exactly. And we've talked about that several times. Donald Trump also is interested when it comes to the whole tariff and the trade and the money deal.
Yes.
We talk, okay, China has literally been brought to their knees. The mainstream media is not going to tell you, but they've been brought to their knees.
Okay.
Just look at what Trump's doing. Also, it's interesting when Carney just won Prime Minister of Canada, he was very, very outward in his quotes against America and Donald Trump. I love this compilation that we have when it comes to Donald Trump and Carney from the White House 2 days ago. We didn't have a show yesterday, but you have to just see what he'll say one thing. And these leaders say one thing publicly, but then at the end of the day, when it comes nut cutting time, as my old coach used to say, Eric, the nuts are on the table. Sorry for that analogy, Eric. But,
well, when we had nut cutting, we just bounced down the field. Remember that? When you get racked, and they would say, just bounce 50 yards. You'll be fine.
Here's a compilation of Carney saying one thing and then getting what, worked by Donald Trump.
I don't think we can change Donald Trump. I don't think so. Not at this stage.
Get you to lift tariffs on Canada?
No.
Why not?
Just the way it is.
And a person who draws his inspiration from President Trump, like Pierre Poilievre, will kneel down before him.
You're a transformational president, focus on the economy with a relentless focus on the American worker.
Yeah, he's so great.
Securing your borders,
Yes.
ending the scourge of fentanyl and other opioids, and securing the world.
Before he stands up to him, he's in sync with President Trump.
I thought you were excellent, and I think we have a lot of things in common.
Pierre Poilievre is also choosing to be willfully blind to the many and growing threats that face our country.
We don't really want cars from Canada. And we put tariffs on cars from Canada, and at a certain point, it won't make economic sense for Canada to build those cars. And we don't want steel from Canada because we're making our own steel, and we're having massive steel plants being built right now as we speak. We really don't want Canadian steel, and we don't want Canadian aluminum and various other things.
What the big companies are producing, by and large, are not products that we are consuming. There's some element of that, but by and large, a steel company, how much steel are you using these days, Todd? I mean, and not as much we used. So anyway,
Trudeau, when I spoke to him, I used to call him Governor Trudeau. I think that probably didn't help his election. But when I spoke to him, I said, so why are we taking your cars? Why are we taking we want to make them ourselves. I mean, I said, and if the price of your cars went up, or if we put a tariff on your cars of 25%, what would that mean to you? He said that would mean the end of Canada. He actually said that to me.
And we can get out.
And
there.
I said,
Mandy says Trump rocks, and it is the situation. Carney's scared.
What is the Canadian car? Can you Google that, Joe?
I don't even know what the Canadian car
is. It Ford? They send the Ford up there, and then they
American
send it back.
Cars being made in Canada.
But here's the thing: Canada is scared shitless. They know they can't survive without the United States, Eric.
No, because here's the deal: for 40, 50 years, here's why. It's not like it happened last week, and they go, "Oh, they caught us. Damn. Okay, back to the way it was." No, this is 50 years ago when all of these situations started happening and industries started growing because on the backs of the American consumer. When you think of the United States, you don't think of us building crap anymore. You think of us buying crap, right? We are the wish.com economy. We are the Temu economy. We are Amazon.com economy. We buy stuff. And we're a service-based industry now. So we're lawyers and we're dentists and we're doctors, and we don't produce anything. That's the problem. Boeing
trying now $6 trillion already committed to the United States since this whole tariff situation started. $6 trillion for new infrastructure. And even if it doesn't pay dividends in the first 2 years, here it comes.
Doesn't matter.
It's on its way.
It doesn't. It's like, look, Wentzville, Missouri has a new highway project that's going to be completed probably in the next 5 years. You got to start building it sometime.
Yes, you do.
Do you want me to go fix East St. Louis right now? Because I will. I know how to do it, but it's going to take some damn time.
You did. There is a new mayor in St. Louis City, so you missed out on your chance.
Maybe was she here?
No, not yet. Maybe the next time. Scott Jennings brought up a perfect point. I was talking about China on CNN. When it comes to China, we don't need their crap And you have too many people in
it's
this country
garbage.
that go against Donald Trump and this administration when it comes to what's happening. I mean,
Yes.
he puts it so eloquently right here.
Yes.
Well, the president has taken a very hard line on China. He doesn't think they're good actors, and he thinks that they need to be dealt with in a harsh way. And so,
right, but he's not talking about the Chinese when he's talking about these dolls. He's talking about kids.
But he is.
But he's saying, like, we don't need the junk. You don't need the junk. You can have 2 dolls instead of 30.
Well, I think when you put his comments together with Secretary Bessent, what they're saying is the American dream is not solely based on our ability to get the cheapest junk we can from China. The American dream is built on us not being reliant on our enemy, but having jobs here, having better jobs here, having a better pathway for your family to make a better living for yourself. That has nothing to do with being able to get cheap junk from China. So
Exactly.
I do think what their message is rooted in has to do with a long-term statement about what constitutes the American dream. And don't fall into the trap of believing that we have to be reliant on our enemy for you to have a dream of what? Owning a bunch of junk? The dream is we make stuff here, it'll be high quality, and the people who make it will make a fair wage.
Right.
That's the American dream. But you're raising the correct point. Is it good for us to be reliant on our enemy for medicine and car parts and things that go into national security implements? It's not about the dolls. It's about everything else, and we're so entangled with people who cheat and who are ultimately our enemy on the world stage. Detangling us and making us not reliant on our enemy is the point. And I know it's a hard message, but that's what leadership means, going out and giving a hard message when it will be to the benefit of the country.
Amen.
Every time you
Amen.
see a
Amen.
Chinese aircraft carrier, I want you to think of cheap made furniture, or I want you to think of Barbie dolls. I want you to think of
Shoes,
polyester made
clothes.
Every time you see one of those Chinese aircraft carriers, which they stole from us, if it wasn't for us, they wouldn't even know what an aircraft carrier was. I want you to remember every time they test a supersonic ballistic missile, I want you to think of a damn Wayfair product.
And every time you hear COVID or a vaccine, think of Wuhan.
There you go.
Think of China.
Yes.
All I got it, and Fauci. But anyway.
And this is because the dumbasses in corporate America back in 2000, the World Trade Organization brought China in and said, here's your rules. Welcome. And they go, oh, thanks. And they broke every single damn rule. And the corporations knew that they were going to make cheap crap that they could buy, sell to the Americans for cheap prices and just swamp us. And that's how it all went down. Well, guess what? China, we want you to succeed, but you better invent your own damn ideas. Stop stealing our intellectual property. Stop hiring 16-year-old kids to work for 12 hours a day in a damn factory. Stop selling Nikes for $5 and then selling them here for $105. I mean, this has got to stop. Trump is right, and the liberals, hate them all you want. I don't give a damn if you have dartboards in your house with Trump faces on it, but do your damn job and report both sides. And you know what, NPR and PBS, if you want to stay open for business, show us that you hired 50%
They're not going to do
conservative
it.
journalists.
They're not going to do
I'm just saying.
They're going to lose the money. Look what Harvard has done.
I think you need to register as a liberal or a conservative. And if you're a judge, you need to register yourself as a liberal. And I think that we're in a period now where I think that we're just one side or the other these days. That's the truth. Is if you have Fox News local, you better have, hi, I'm Andy Murphy, liberal. Hi, I'm blah blah blah, conservative. I'll bring over
that's never gonna happen.
It doesn't matter, but that's the point.
Do you want me to tell you about all those liberals I worked with?
I kind of would love to.
I think I've already done that.
But it's the truth.
I think I was the only conservative in local news.
It's the truth. It's like
at least at Fox 2.
Good thought and even good application is being fought by journalists without telling the other side of the story. There are people who are living in poverty because their damn factories have been uprooted and brought to another country. This is like the biggest story of the day in a lot of ways. The border's shut down. It's closed.
I mean, it's already taken care of.
It's done. We don't need to talk about it anymore.
Well, the big story is the fact that liberals are trying to do something that's impossible. Have 10 million separate court cases before we deport them, which we know is BS.
This is crap. They're not citizens.
I know. 93% of Bill Clinton's deported
Yeah.
deported illegals here, didn't have a trial.
I mean, if you go into
Obama,
Walmart,
the same thing. It just, come on, people.
if you go
Stop
into,
playing politics.
if you
It's
go
about
into
safety.
Walmart, privately owned organization, and someone sees that you're stealing stuff, do they go, excuse me, here's your court date to appear for if you maybe did steal or didn't
In
steal?
St. Charles
No,
County,
what they do
Missouri.
is they put you in handcuffs, they take you out of the damn building, probably going to take you to jail.
Not everywhere, not in the blue cities.
Not in the blue cities.
We've already seen that.
Do you have
happen.
$1,000 in your pocket? No. Well, then you're good, free to go. So that's what I'm saying. It's like there's no common sense that's applied to everything.
I'm glad you said the word common sense, because from a financial standpoint, we start to see America get back to where common sense should be. Another big thing where I saw liberals and conservatives agreeing on is our health,
Yes.
our food, Robert F. Kennedy Jr., what's being put in. Why are we getting sick? Do we trust doctors? Why are we being so, quote, mean to new ideas and doctors who try to prevent things before they happen? Have you seen Dr. Casey Means yet?
No.
Donald Trump's new nominee?
No, I'm not familiar.
Oh, for Surgeon General, she came out with a storm yesterday. We're not going to play this entire clip, but listen to Dr. Casey Means speak, reminding me of RFK Jr., who I absolutely love for the role which he is in, and listen to her talk about what's happening in America with all of us. And this shouldn't even be political, Republicans, independents, or Democrats. This is about health.
You would think that the American healthcare system and our government agencies would be clamoring to fix metabolic health and reduce American suffering and
True
costs.
story.
But they're not. They are deafeningly silent
True story.
about metabolic dysfunction and its known causes. It's not an overstatement to say that I learned virtually nothing at Stanford Medical School about the tens of thousands of scientific papers that elucidate these root causes of why American health is plummeting and how environmental factors are causing it.
True story.
For instance, in medical school, I did not learn that for each additional serving of ultra-processed food we eat, early mortality increases by 18%. This now
I'm
makes
dead.
up 67% of the foods our kids are eating. I took 0 nutrition courses in medical school. I didn't learn that 82% of independently funded studies show harm from processed food, while 93% of industry-sponsored studies reflect no harm. In medical school, I didn't learn that 95% of the people who created the recent USDA food guidelines for America had significant conflicts of interest with the food industry. I did not learn that 1 billion pounds of synthetic pesticides are being sprayed on our food every single year. 99% of the farmland in the United States is sprayed with synthetic pesticides, many from China and Germany. And these invisible, tasteless chemicals are strongly linked to autism, ADHD, sex hormone disruption, thyroid disease, sperm dysfunction, Alzheimer's, dementia, birth defects, cancer, obesity, liver dysfunction, female infertility, and more, all by hurting our metabolic health. I did not learn that the 8 billion tons of plastic that have been produced just in the last 100 years, plastic was only invented about 100 years ago, are being broken down into microplastics that are now filling our food, water, and we are now even inhaling them in our air. And that very recent research from just the past couple of months tells us that now about 0.5% of our brains by weight are now plastic. I didn't learn that there are more than 80,000 toxins that have entered our food, water, air, and homes by industry, many of which are banned in Europe, and they are known to alter our gene expression, alter our microbiome composition and the lining of our gut, and disrupt our hormones. I didn't learn that heavy metals like aluminum and lead are present in our food, our baby formula, personal care products, our soil, and many of the mandated medications like vaccines, and that these metals are neurotoxic and inflammatory.
Right.
I didn't learn that the average American walks a paltry 3,500 steps per day, even though we know.
Isn't this fascinating? This is fascinating.
And she just keeps going.
And it goes. And I would ask for you, Joe. Is there any way you can put that on the chat line for people to go in and watch that link?
Yeah, I can post the link.
Joe will post the link at some point here. I'd encourage you to go watch. It's 6 minutes. We played about 2 minutes, and she goes on and on and on. And this isn't political. and it shouldn't be political. Yet it has been made political about who the U.S. Surgeon General is. Dr. Casey Means should be there. We finally have somebody talking common sense when it comes to all of us. I mean, who wants to go see our grandma, our wife, our husband, our kid, anyone in the hospital? And then if you actually break it down, because of the things that we do to ourselves.
Yeah. Here's the deal. So for what, 80 years, the Surgeon Generals have been, it's all medical prescriptions.
Well, this is
it's all pharmaceuticals.
This
right?
is our proactive or this is our reactive approach to you getting sick.
Yeah. So it's like Vic said,
I'm a doctor.
It's the reactive. It's like everybody is fine until you're not fine. And then when you're not fine, as the Surgeon General, I'm going to tell you to come see us because we have all these pharmaceutical companies and we have all these doctors and all these institutions that can help you because you have screwed yourself up so bad.
Dana White, huge Donald Trump supporter, very much into his health, says he will never go to a medical doctor again because of the experiences that he has had.
Well, I don't know about you, but I'm in that camp that I'm afraid. I'm literally, here's the deal. Since last time I saw you guys, I've lost 15 pounds.
By the way, I was going to say you look very svelte.
Well, it's not because I want to. It's because I have been feared. And Bobby Kennedy Jr. is the reason.
I love him.
It's because what he is saying is true. In the 40s, there weren't Pop-Tarts. In the 40s, General Mill was not making Frosted Flakes.
Well,
in the 30s, people were
they were made differently.
Right.
High fructose corn syrup became a massive problem.
Yes, and there was not Coca-Cola. Gatorade might be one of the worst
there
things.
Was Coke. There was soda.
Oh, you're right.
It was made differently.
Very, very different. Real Coke.
Speaking of which,
no, but it was real sugar. It was cane sugar. It was not processed, right? So you have to look back, and then you'd look at autism. Here is the one that I would love to see PBS go at. Where the hell did autism come from?
We already talked about this several times. You're right.
Where did it come from? Is it just? Oh my God! It appeared in the
shots, and I'm pissed off because my son has a nut allergy, and
nut allergy. That's another one.
All of a sudden, these things come up out of nowhere.
How come the Amish doesn't? They don't have autism.
Exactly. So you got to somehow do the breakdown, not for the last 100 years, the last 500 years.
Is it true
on human beings?
Is it true that Fruit Loops under the old FDA pyramid triangle? Because we know that RFK Jr.
Don't you remember
rated
that?
higher than steak.
Yes,
people. I promise you, if you eat steak and eggs every day, you will feel differently. Your body will change. Your health will change. Your energy will change. I'm telling you, I've learned more from chiropractor Dio Eric Naputi about proactive health issues than I ever learned from any MD. Just my personal experience from these doctors and health enthusiasts like Gary Brecka and these people who are being used by Dana White and Joe Rogan. Yeah. I'm telling you, the old way is not the right way. You have these doctors. Oh, come to us. All right, we'll take care of you after the fact.
You can scare yourself into you can literally scare yourself into a diet these days.
Salt's not good for you. Yeah. Okay, whatever.
No, salt's great for you. It really is. It's
sea salt.
Sea salt. Correct. I mean, it's
pink Himalayan.
Exactly right. Who was it on here that said beet juice is better than sugar? Beetroot, sugar, beetroot, whatever that is. I want to learn about that now. I want to learn about that. Raw,
I'm told that beetroot may, if you did it right, it could totally do away with Viagra. So there you go. Eric.
What?
Yeah.
See now, no, it's just fascinating that you still got to be a little careful in the information that you bring into your brain, because the natural stuff I don't think is that effective maybe on some of the medical cures that they always claim for you. However, that being said, if you really want to feel good, in life, overdo the drinking of water, get rid of all the carbohydrates, all. Go all protein, eggs. Don't worry about the fats. Don't worry about the fats.
You shouldn't worry about the fats.
Don't worry about the fats. Get rid of the carbohydrates. Drink a lot of water.
The worst thing is sugar, Eric.
Stay away from the sugar.
Sugar is the worst thing.
It is literally the thing that causes visceral fat, which makes you high blood pressure, heart attacks, strokes, the whole 9 yards. Go ahead.
Beef fat is the best for you.
Say that again.
Beef.
I don't even know what that is.
Beef fat Beef
Like,
liver.
from a
Beef
steak.
liver is
Eat
another
that shit.
another good thing. Glenn says, by the way, the doctor you just had on, Dr. Casey Means, who said she learned nothing at Stanford that helped her in her career. Stanford must be going, oh shit, right about now.
It just makes you wonder about all the Ivy
yes,
League colleges.
It's all about money.
It makes you wonder
don't
about
get
the
me
Ivy.
started on Ivy
Well, I'm
League.
just saying, it makes you wonder if a technical college isn't way better, way cheaper.
No, but we need people. There was a reason.
Well,
for
then
college.
where are those colleges at? Where are the?
But it does beef tallow exactly by the butter, real butter.
Yes.
Also, the doctor who we just showed you, Dr. Casey Maines, nominee for U.S. Surgeon General. She was also on with Dr. Gary Brecka. And if you don't know about Dr. Gary Brecka, check him out.
Yeah.
Just please listen, and you will change your life. I don't care how old you are, what you've been through. Our diet starts with everything. You are what you eat.
And there's a guy that on the text line, and it goes fast, and I can't see it, but they said cancer. Here's the true story, and I want you to go look on this stuff on YouTube. There's people out there that have cancer, metastasized cancer, and they go and they show you the MRIs and the CT scans, and they're like, I was dead. I was counting months. And then all of a sudden, and this is a very strict protocol. I got rid of all the sugar in my diet. I ate very little. I basically did this for a year or whatever it was. He's like, I still got the cancer, but it's going down. Oh my God. Am I in remission? No, you're not in remission because you still had this cancerous mass. But he kept going. He kept going. He kept going. It was real simple. He had a very strict diet. It got more strict as time went on. The damn tumor went out of his body.
Yep.
The damn tumor left his body. No chemotherapy, no radiation. It was just getting rid of all sugar.
Intermittent fasting your body will absorb any cancer or any tumors if you go into ketosis. If you stay in ketosis,
it's hard though.
It is hard,
but you can go back and forth. You can go back and forth. No, but you can go back and forth. Yes, they do.
Not most people.
Yes, they do.
I've studied it. I tried it.
I understand that, but if you don't give it what it needs to be out of ketosis, then you're going to get into ketosis.
Donna says our brain does.
You should do a whole show on that.
Yeah,
you really should.
When you get Dr. Eric Napudi in here talking about this,
then you won't have to even be here. He'll just talk.
What's up with Gary Brecka? Anybody? We like the gossip too here. Robert says, unfortunately, Gary Brecka picked the wrong partner. Not talking about his wife. She's great.
I would love to know who that is.
What are you talking about?
Yes.
Glenn says doctors would lose their license if they recommended ivermectin over remdesivir. Maybe
not anymore.
It started to change a little bit. We already know that ivermectin works, and remdesivir should have never been, and medically science backed ivermectin over remdesivir. I don't know. It is interesting though when you think about those things that are happening.
If you're a doctor funded by the government, you could lose your license.
Remember when we were kids
stepping out of line?
We could do books now about how much sugar our parents gave us.
Well, yeah.
My mom used to make cinnamon toast, and there was more sugar than cinnamon in the damn.
Oh, that's so good.
It is so good. or the Cheerios that sucked so bad until you put the 1 pound of sugar on top of it, and then you had the sugar milk.
Made them good.
And then you had the sugar milk on the bottom.
Made them good.
I miss cereal.
Robert says if you're dealing with cancer, ivermectin, and I've never heard this term before, fenbizidol. Never heard of fenbizidol.
Man, I'm telling you, listen to me, Mary. Carbs and sugars are really bad for you. I'm not saying eating a strawberry or a blackberry every now and then is going to kill you.
Do your tights still fit you?
Huh? My tights are literally falling off me. My spandex.
Oh, that's even more sexy.
It's like baggy jeans. No, I'm kidding.
For those who don't know, Eric is also
I'm
a world-renowned bassist.
Only because I wear spandex.
Because you wear spandex. So those the last time I saw you on stage, you were pushing those spandex out. I guess.
That's right.
Those tights.
I know.
Are they called spandex or tights? What do you call them?
They're
like, hey, Christy, where are my?
They're spandex.
Christy, have
jeans.
you seen my?
I could do a whole show on the 80s fashion if you want to. I could do an entire show on 80s fashion. But
where do
no,
you buy those now? Because they don't have the 80 shops like merry-go-round anymore.
you got to make a lot of your own stuff. You gotta look online. You got to figure it out. That's the truth. It's like, it's like trying to go to Comic-Con. You have to find your Spider-Man outfit. Or with Thor.
Donna says, my great-grandparents lived a long life because I believe they ate more fresh stuff. No fast
Yes, if it
food.
comes from the ground, it's okay. That's one rule to think about. If it comes from the ground and you didn't mess with it, you're fine. Even if it's if it has, there are things that I look at now that have carbohydrates, like some nuts and certain things. But if you want to get to that level, then that's a whole different show.
Hey, by the way, when is Platinum Rock Legends playing again? Because the last time we talked to you guys were like almost like half retired.
I know we were almost at.
It almost seemed, I think Aerosmith's playing more than you guys.
Which says something. We're playing at Cybergs on Dorset.
Oh,
I know, that's weird.
interesting.
It should be strange. Yeah.
Is that why the sporting games are going on?
Well, we would probably be up against the Blues if they didn't get their asses kicked. Which they didn't get their asses kicked, but when you lose in the last 1 second,
it feels like you got your. I'd rather get my ass kicked than lose like that.
Yeah. So no, we'll be up at
God,
Cybergs
that's crazy.
on Dorset.
That's awesome. Hey, real quick before we go to our guest at 9:45, I wanted to show you this. I don't know. This comes to Joe Biden, but the Trump administration is going to release the audio tapes of, remember Special Investigator Robert Hur or Richard Hur?
Yes.
Special FBI investigator who said Joe Biden wasn't
He's too incompetent
to stand trial.
Right. He's like a little frail grandpa.
Well, he came out speaking. So Trump's like, okay, you're going to mouth off. And then there's allegedly an interview on ABC today with Joe Biden and Jill Biden, how he's doing. The Trump administration is going to release these tapes. And I only wanted to show you Robert Hur again, just to remind you what he said about Biden.
My task was to determine whether the president retained or disclosed national defense information willfully. That means knowingly and with the intent to do something the law forbids. I could not make that determination without assessing the president's state of mind. For that reason, I had to consider the president's memory and overall mental state and how a jury likely would perceive his memory and mental state in a criminal trial. And because these issues were important to my ultimate decision, I had to include a discussion of them in my report to the Attorney General. The evidence and the president himself put his memory squarely at issue. We interviewed the president and asked him about his recorded statement. Quote, I just found all the classified stuff downstairs, end quote. He told us that he didn't remember saying that to his ghostwriter. He also said he didn't remember finding any classified material in his home after his vice presidency.
Convenient.
And he didn't remember anything about how classified documents about Afghanistan made their way into his garage.
So he goes on to say that he didn't feel the president was.
There's so many contradictions in there.
And I
It's
only bring this up
unbelievable.
again because there's an interview today with Joe Biden and Jill on ABC, and because Biden spoke recently about how bad Trump is, and because the American people were lied to about that whole situation. If it happened to Trump or Obama or Bush, we need to bring that stuff full circle. And we do.
Yeah. Well, if it was Trump, they would have had 2 impeachment hearings.
Maybe
they would have sent one through, and if this one doesn't work, then we'll send another one. It would have been so many impeachment inquiries. It would have been unbelievable. You would have had MSNBC on Trump incompetent watch day 69. I mean, it would have been like just laying out the case for why Trump was not cognizant. It was not cognizant of being there. And so that's where, again, there's a lot of things that are dangerous to this country, but a media that is so left, I don't think there's anything more dangerous than that. I really don't.
No, there isn't.
Because you have to make a decision on who you want to vote for, on what foods you want to eat, on things that the media tells us. I know you don't believe in the Lester Holt thing or the Tom Brokaw thing, but people still do sit in front of their TVs and get their.
Some people do. The ratings are down, though.
Every time I talk
Way
to a
down.
liberal, I'm like, I heard that on a station the other day. Man, your bullet points are really good.
But Donald Trump is having so much success, whether people like him or not, in a variety of areas. He's getting asked to get into all kinds of areas. Literally, he has now been asked to get into the whole NIL situation. Now, people, you may not know what NIL is because it may not affect most of society, but it does affect a lot of young student athletes. It affects a lot of companies and businesses and things like that. And Nick Saban, the greatest college football coach of all time, like him or not, recently talked with Donald Trump and wanted Donald Trump to get involved and start saying whether companies or the NCAA, and we've already talked about the NCAA in a lot of situations when it comes to men and women's sports and a very lukewarm stance. So all of these things kind of coexist. To talk more about it, we talked to my good friend, Mid-Missouri attorney, Bogdan Suzan. He joins us today. He's literally represented hundreds of student athletes in high-profile cases, as well as the NCAA investigations, the basketball team during the Quinn Snyder era, the Tudor investigation at Mizzou. He goes back to the Larry Smith days of playing football when I was there. He advised Coach Barry Odom. He advises Coach Drinkwitz right now. He is now involved in NIL legislation, working with 2 other attorneys. He's been in a national book. As a matter of fact, a couple different interviews done by SI regarding sexual misconduct on campuses. He helps pro athletes. I mean, your list, Bogdan, goes on and on and on and on and on. And by the way, when I tried to leave one TV station in Columbia, Missouri, many, many years ago, when they didn't honor my contract, guess who stepped in for me and said, leave Vic alone? It was Bogdan Suzan. He saved me many, many legal fees. So thank you, Bogdan. Welcome to Cancel This, my friend.
Hey, thanks, Vic. That was my proudest accomplishment, is helping you, get our
So much so that when I brought it up to Bogdan off air, he's like, oh, yeah, I forgot about that.
Was that me?
Yeah. Oh, yeah, that was right. That was me. Hey, seriously, we're glad you're with us, my friend. You're coming to us live, I assume, from Columbia, Missouri today, right?
That's correct. Yes.
Dude, can you just give a little intro? I mean, who you are and how you're helping and what NIL is, because a lot of viewers and listeners may not understand. They hear it because, in my humble opinion, it does affect a large part of society.
Yeah, so I went to Mizzou for undergrad and law school after attending Rockhurst High School, the greatest of all Jesuit high schools and football.
Oh my gosh, God help us!
Yeah, I know your St. Louis people are just clicking off right now, or maybe clicking on just to be angry about it. So, but so I went to Mizzou. Worked as a bouncer at the field house, and the typical college thing. Went to law school, and after law school, some of my friends, got in trouble that I'd known, from undergrad days, and I was a brand new lawyer, so just kind of started representing, student athletes just by coincidence, and then Larry Smith had the job, and my neighbor down the street's like, hey, a couple of our knuckleheads got arrested. What can you do? And
that was not me, by the way.
Not you, no, but it was pretty funny. I mean, things like a 6'8" kid wearing a bright orange suit stealing hubcaps in the middle of the day, right? These weren't
he had his prison uniform on.
Yeah, well, so anyways, I just got involved, and one of the things I did was, unlike a lot of lawyers that promote themselves at the expense of their athlete, I always kept things quiet, right? Because I knew nobody wanted to talk about what happened, off the field, right?
Scott Borst.
Right. And I would sneak people, into court the day before their court hearing to avoid the media, which was kind of a problem since my wife was a member of the media at the time, right? How come you didn't tell me? Like, I can't, right?
Conflict of interest. You're sleeping.
So that grew on. I got some trust, people knew I would treat their cases properly. And then, we had some strange things with the NCAA pop up, and the school retained me to represent the athletes. In matters regarding the eligibility. So I've seen it all. I mean, you crazy things, you go back to the NCAA used to have rules on paper, as I've actually seen that the only thing you can provide an athlete is fruit, nuts, and bagels. I mean, how random.
Yeah.
And even more random is like, if you gave them cream cheese or jam, that might be a violation. So crazy rules. And you would just see the inequities, Vic, like, you played, the scholarship doesn't cover everything. If you come from a family that doesn't have any resources, and you can't work because that's a full-time job. There are times when athletes would go hungry, when dining home.
That sounds crazy, but I promise you it's true. I witnessed it because I come from a hardworking family. You're responsible for everything you do, but I'm telling you, when the scholarship takes all of your time, You couldn't even get full-time jobs.
Sucks to be you. Good God,
I'm
man.
telling you,
work hard. Get to the next level.
I'm telling you that scholarship is not what people think it is.
It's a privilege. It's a privilege when you are that good as an athlete. When you're good as an athlete,
it's a privilege to earn it. But there are days where you don't have money because guess what? The dorms aren't open for food. The football office isn't open for food, and you have to go fend for yourself. So where do you get that money from? You get it from your family because you can't have a job and play the sport at the same time.
You know what? That's life in college. What can I say? How much ramen noodle did I eat?
All right. Coming from a former athlete yourself, but you didn't. But
no, I didn't come out through the tunnels at Mizzou. That's for sure.
Yeah, not to interrupt you from that standpoint, Bogdan, but I wanted to explain that.
No, but this is where it gets murky for a lot of people.
It does.
We're starting to get into the.
You don't know it.
Okay. All right. Go ahead. Sorry.
I totally understand what Eric's saying because I get that all the time, right? From people. And honestly, I wouldn't have understood that unless I witnessed it myself, right? It seems ridiculous. I worked at the field house, right? I would get up in the morning and clean the place, right? You can imagine what that was like, right? Disgusting, right? College bars, waiting tables. I worked as a furniture mover, right? And yeah, do all sorts of stuff to get your way through college. And that's, people don't feel sorry for these high profile athletes, but the reality of it is the time that they put in is remarkable at the same time trying to maintain a GPA or go to classes along with all those restrictions. So it really is something you don't know till you see it. And it's different for everybody, right? Some people are uniquely affected. Yeah.
I totally agree with that. And I think that all these kids in high school who are trying desperately to become part of a Division I football team and not go to Culver Stockton and play football, it's like joining the Marines. You're going to be one. Yes, it is. It's like you're going to be part of the few, the proud, the Marines, but you're also going to go to boot camp and get your ass kicked for 8 weeks.
But Bogdan, can you jump us right in? Why are people now asking Donald Trump to get involved in NIL and the NCAA?
Yeah, because, I'll give you an anecdote about Nick Saban, right? I was at dinner with Hall of Fame coach Gary Pinkel, right? Yeah. He gets the phone call when he was coaching from one of his assistants and saying that, hey, there's a rules committee meeting and they proposed a change to the rules that would prevent the hurry up offense, right? And it was being promoted by Nick Saban and Bielema, right? Yeah.
Interesting.
You got 20 seconds. You got to go huddle up.
Right. And their theory was that it was for player safety, right? Now, the reality of it is, and I'm, no football expert, but Vic could probably tell you more, and is that, whenever, I remember Pinkel explained this to me, the hurry up offense is great for Missouri, right? Because we don't have the same three deep 5-star athletes that Saban has, right, on the defensive line. So when you get a great player tired, they become average, right?
Yes, yes.
That was a rule change. And of course, Saban didn't want that because he didn't want to lose an advantage, right? So fast forward, 15 years later or whatever, or here he is again, even though he's not coaching now, because he knows that Alabama's advantage has somehow been weakened by the fact that other schools can get these athletes now because they're able to pay them. Right?
I think it's so weird. I hate it. I can't stand it because there's something, the purity of college football is now thrown out the window. It's now you're a professional.
But was there ever purity with how much the NCAA was making?
How many times
on the backs of these kids and video games?
How many kids came out of high school that you were watching to see if they were actually going to blow up at their chosen college? How cool was it when the kids were signing their letter?
Bogdan, am I wrong? Was purity an illusion? Because I felt as a former player was.
Purity is a total illusion. I would deal with NCAA issues, right? And simple things, stupid things, right? Not cheating, right? Not money for players. And you would hear from players that were recruited at other schools how different their experience was. Like, why are we worried about this rule? They don't worry about that rule over there. Back with the tutoring thing, why do we worry about that? Yeah. So, a lot of places didn't adhere to the rules. So yeah, it wasn't always even. But also,
well, here's the thing like this. Let me just bring it up like this. So back in the day, I always wondered why a college quarterback who might have been a huge celebrity in their local backyard, I could never understand why. Just let him, if he can't eat lunch, go let him sponsor the local Mercedes dealership. Let them pay for this guy. It'll teach the kid the basics of becoming an entrepreneur. He's huge. He can sell his jersey or whatever he wants to do. I was always like, let them do that. But now these kids can like become huge in their community and say, well, USC isn't good enough. I want to go to Notre Dame. I think that is just killed college football. That's the only thing I agree with Saban on. Is like Saban's the one that went out and recruited these kids, put in the money for these kids, and now they become great and they move on to something else. There's no way to coach at that point, right? I mean, does that seem like they're two totally separate things? Letting the kids make money in their backyard, and then letting the kids have access to all the colleges all over the country. Back in the day, when if you transferred, you'd have to sit out a year.
Yeah, no, I know what you're saying, and that goes back to coaches leaving and coaches' compensation too. You look, for example,
they're private though, but they're part of the privates. They're getting a salary. They've done their dues in college or whatever. Their opportunity is now. These college kids, it's just a different thing. You know, it's when you get into NCAA Division I, you're done. You're there.
But these kids are not on the. I guess the proper way to put this. Nobody really cares about these kids making a lot of money. And it's not a lot of kids. But what is interesting to me, Bogdan, I heard yesterday that a kid from Missouri is going to make $2 million to go to the University of Miami to play offensive line. Do you know anything about that?
From who? Who's paying him $2 million?
They're NIL.
Yeah. I mean, sure. I've heard that everywhere, that's what certain schools are paying for high school kids, right? Which is, you know, it's a big risk for that school, but if they have a lot of money, maybe it's not as much of a risk, right? That's where the unequal resources are. You know, when you know you started, you know, NCAA has restrictions on how many coaches you can have, right? And what you and so, but everybody finds a loophole, and all of a sudden we have these video coordinators or these defensive specialists or these people that aren't coaches, but basically scout and break down film and do all that stuff. Well, at the time, Missouri's guys were 22-year-old graduate students getting 10 grand stipends. Saban had ex-NFL coaches getting 500,000, right, to break down film. So obviously there was not parity there. But, you know, going back to you, Eric, I think you were talking about like players leaving, right?
Yes.
And that always goes to where, you know, and I mentioned coaches' compensation too. So it's kind of the same thing. Like when Vic, you were playing, Larry Smith made 600,000, right? And I mean, you're not 100 years old, right? Now they're making averaging 10 million or more, right? So it's a big change there.
Yeah, because that's where I don't care what anyone says, that's where the major, if you're not Harvard and Princeton, that's where your major money comes from. It doesn't come from girls lacrosse. It comes from college football, period.
But what you're missing there, Eric, is that's what the market bears, right? That's kind of what you're saying. Is
absolutely.
Yes. Larry Smith can make 600,000 and now they're making 10 million because the market, you know, demands that. So where are the players left on this, right? Their circumstances haven't changed. And, you know, I remember years ago when I heard Mike Krzyzewski was getting paid millions of dollars from Nike for shoe contract. Like, who gives a crap of what shoes Mike Krzyzewski wears? Clearly it's for the players, right?
Yeah.
But they weren't getting a piece of it. So, you know, and I think, you know, it's got back to Johnny Manziel, right? Where he had to be, you know, act like a criminal in a hotel room to sign his own jerseys, right?
Yeah.
You know, and I forgot what the revenue was. Like, I think he increased their revenue 1 year, 450 million.
I remember back in the day when Anthony Bonner, they were the theories about Anthony
from
Bonner.
SLU.
Yeah, he was like hiding stuff from the authorities because of just gifting.
I don't like where NIL is now, but I still think that you should be able to, as an athlete, be able to benefit from your name, image, and likeness. I do. I don't like where it is.
So you so what you're saying, and which is cool, you want to blow out all the rules from the NCAA about
because I don't like or trust the NCAA.
Well, okay,
and they've given us plenty of reasons. And
eligibility, red shirting, and that stuff. You just get rid of it. If you're there for 5 years, fine, screw it. You can be there for 6 years.
Well, now there's a quarterback from Vanderbilt that got a 6th year. It's crazy what's happening. Do I like it?
Okay,
no.
so if it's going to be a commercial enterprise, which I totally agree with, then you need to let these kids come into a college, work their way up through the depth chart, and then move on to something bigger and better because they're going to get offers.
Bogdan, how do you play into all of this situation?
Say that again, Vic.
How do you play into this? Do you work with players for their own to get what they can from
universities? I mean, I've advised players on, you know, but a lot of times too, it's not just about the money, right? It's about they're hearing so many voices out there, right? Whether it's from their community or relatives saying, you need this or you need that. And it's not always the best advice, right? And it's not always the best advice, for example, to leave your school to go to some other school that pays you more money if the situation isn't as good for you, right? You may not play as much, or, you know, that there may be a coaching change. And so, yeah, I'm there for the student athlete to help them make the right decision for them, right? Not just the right decision for who's ever going to try to collect that money, because, you know, Missouri law requires a lawyer or a registered agent, right? And I can tell you that's not what's happening. There's people out there that are representing themselves as agents for these kids. Even large national, well-known agencies are signing these kids up, and 20% off the top of what they get. And most of the time, it's not really negotiations.
How does that affect Title IX? Isn't that Title IX? That's that you guys the NCAA back in the day wanted to kind of evenly distribute all the money across all the sports and all the, you know, activities. Does that? The truth of the matter is, like I said before, college football, 100,000 people in the shoe up there, and you have 80,000 people at Mizzou, and then you got 14 people at the local you know, track and field event. But how does that work? Do they still have that interest on making all of the sports kind of equal and participate in all this money that's coming in?
Yeah, I mean, Title IX still exists as law, and, you know, it's equal opportunity for participation in sports based upon your demographics of your school, right? And it's always, Title IX has always been interesting when it comes to football, right? Because football is unique. Football pays for everything, right? Pays for all the non-revenue sports, right?
Right.
And so the casualty is you don't see men's tennis teams or men's soccer teams, or, you know, a lot of schools don't have the same number of men's versus women's sports because football takes all the scholarships. And then, you know, the argument from the men's male soccer players and tennis players, it's not fair, right? Football's paying for everything. Football should be excluded from it because it's a different animal, like you said, Eric. You know, nothing is, it's totally different. It's an experience, right?
Yeah.
You know, I love college football. I've been tailgating the same spot for like 20 something years.
And by the way, he's got the best tailgate around at Columbia.
No doubt. Yeah. I mean, it's just part of,
boom.
Let me put it this way. You know, I'm born in Romania, right? You might guess by my weird name, right? You know, and didn't play football, played soccer, basketball, right? So for me, you know, football is like this great piece of American culture that I just love, right? You know,
right.
You know, same with, and you know, even though I didn't play it, it's just like I love football Saturdays, right? I might enjoy basketball more to watch it on TV, but I love football Saturdays more than anything, right? Because of the atmosphere, the tailgates. That's where the nostalgia comes in, right? That's where people like you, Eric, you're afraid that it's going to change everything and ruin everything, right?
Yeah.
And I'm afraid of it too, right? But I've also seen the inequities, and I realized that, you know, the Supreme Court said it, and should have said a long time ago. It's an illegal business model, right?
Well, it's like this. Can this happen? I don't even know. This is one thing I've always wondered. Let's say the Lakers want one of Missouri's players. They like, we want you. We want you. Here's $100,000 a year to go eat some food, but you're coming here. Could that happen? Could they do stuff like that?
Because they have to draft them out of college.
You can make your intentions known. The Lakers, why can they?
But somebody else would. But people would draft them before. If they're available, they would draft them.
That's fine. I'm just saying, money can come from all corners of the planet at this point for these kids.
It would be tampering, you know. Yeah. Even well-intended stuff is tampering in the NBA. Like, you know, if I have for example, a student athlete that has NBA aspirations, right? And I'm trying to advise that person what to do or what not to do. And I want to reach out to some of my NBA coaching friends. I have to be careful because, you know, if I'm just trying to get good advice for the kid to say, hey, stay in school or work on your jumper, gain 20 pounds, right? Things you should be able to tell them. They're concerned as well. You know, the NBA might see that as tampering, right? So there's lots of rules, you know,
right.
You know how much money is out there in this area?
What's that?
I know, but here's one thing I would say, and this is one thing I do feel sorry. Let's say the girls volleyball team, and they do have a lot of money coming into these kids over there in their football team. Don't you think that there should be an equitable exchange of money that passes all of that cash out to all the kids or all the organizations?
Since when did you become Pollyanna, Eric?
I'm not saying I'm Pollyanna. I'm just saying that you could see because
it all
women's
changed.
volleyball is exactly what I'm talking about. It's the privilege of being a volleyball player at Missouri, becoming part of that booster program.
How much money are they bringing in, Eric?
Huh?
How much
None.
money?
That's the point.
Then
is
what
you
should
take that money and
so
instead of
take it away from somebody else,
instead of giving it
that
to the
goes
quarterback,
against everything that you feel like in politics.
I'm just
take
saying,
money from somebody who's making money and give it to somebody else who's less
trying
fortunate.
to get the happy medium here somehow to where college football doesn't become the,
it already has.
I understand. But it's about money and divvying it
Hey,
up.
Bogdan, I got to tell you this. I was been recruiting my junior son for a while. They've got 2 kids committed. They showed us a board. He's number 3. If one of them decommits, they're like, we're offering Graham. If they both stay, and they've been very honest and upfront and showing it, and the position coach is good friends with my son's speed coach. If we don't, or if we're in a situation where we can't bring in another receiver because they want him at receiver, it's crazy. The only school wants him at receiver. Then what we have is a $50,000 walk-on package that we give our top walk-ons. I'm like, what? $50,000? And you're not even on scholarship? That's how much money is involved with this, Eric. And is it legit? Yeah, because we talked to one of the parents of a kid who's getting this kind of money. Is that what you see, Bogdan?
Yeah.
Every school is different, but yeah, I mean, and then the reason why that house settlement right now is being held up is because the judge wants to make sure that roster limits and walk-on restrictions or eliminations, are dealt with properly in the settlement. But yeah, no, you're seeing it where people are being offered, walk-on money because they want to have another person on their roster. And of course, we had roster size limitation back when Nebraska used to have like 200 dudes on their roster. Remember that, Vic? And then all these walk-ons were really walk-ons that had scholarship from some small town, right? I think every Maccabica that played in those national championships was a walk-on, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
I mean, it's
just
constant change. Yeah,
it's just changed. I mean, Missouri football back in the old days, back in the 80s, you wouldn't even see the game. You have to wait till Sunday at 9 a.m. to watch it on KPLR TV.
Hey,
but these days, it's like all over the place. It's in your face.
Bogdan, who's paying the NIL money? Is it businesses or the school?
Well, it depends, right? I mean, legislation is out there about direct payment from the schools. NIL monies are typically, third-party resources, collectives, donors that donate to the collective. And that's what's going to be interesting, right? If this house settlement gets approved and we have that, $2.2 billion, and then each school gets a certain amount, right? These coaches, Vic, them, Eric, you have an understanding of it. These coaches are never going to stop looking for a edge, right? Never trying to look. So nobody's going to stop at a salary cap, right? That's when it's going to be interesting, right?
Exactly.
That's when the quid pro quo stuff. So Vic, if Iowa wants to pay your kid $100,000 to be on a billboard, right? And then, and then another school says, that's just not worth it. It's not worth $100,000. They're just paying him, right?
Yes.
Then the NCAA is going to step in and say, is this a quid pro quo thing? So it's going to, there's still so much out there. It's going to be fascinating to see how it is, right?
We're talking with lawyer Bogdan Suzan. Did I get their name right? MidwestLawyers.com?
Oh, my website's midmissourilawyers.com.
MidmissouriLawyers.com. We got to get you back on. We've talked about having you on the show before when it comes to talking certain issues of law, and lawyers usually are the best. I'd love to get you on, and we will. And, we don't always have to agree on everything. That's for sure.
Mm-hmm.
I just know that you're super damn intelligent and very well respected throughout the state of Missouri, maybe even other places, and love talking to you about NIL. Is there anything, because Eric and I get talking, we're like, blah, 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 blah. Is there anything that you need to make sure that you get out to help educate people? Because we've had an audience that not only stuck around, but grew through all of our sites. I'm curious, from when it comes to this whole matter and politics and NCAA.
Yeah, I mean, I think like all of us, I'm at first, I'm a fan, right? And I love the culture. I love Mizzou. I love the competitions in college. It's different. The college games are different than NFL games, right? But, all these things translate to, think of it, the NBA right now. People are like, well, players are constantly moving. They're creating super teams. I don't like the NBA anymore. I like teams that have, developed their talent from the beginning. And that's the same thing that's affecting college, right? I want to see the kid's been there 4 or 5 years. That's worked his way up. We love those stories of the walk-on that becomes the star, right?
Rudy.
And yeah, and I think the concern is that when players are not loyal to their school, so to speak, because they are gone after a year to look for the best opportunity, change is hard, right? And you know, sometimes you have to put aside, you know, like I do, my own feelings about something, right? Because, you know, in this world is all about our feelings and opinions, right? Everybody has to agree and validate our feelings and opinions, right? We're all, you know, experts on everything, right? With online media and stuff, but social media. But I think we just have to realize that these kids work super hard for what they have. And the only opportunity you have to play pro football right now is going to college and playing in a you know, Division I school, and then getting seen and drafted, you know. So it's a unique situation, and I think we just have to sometimes be open to the idea that, yeah, somebody just put Cody Schrader up there on the board. That's exactly right. We love the Cody Schrader stories. And there'll still be those stories out there, but I just think we have to understand our own feelings about it, but also realize these kids are, you know, under the law, deserve a compensation for what they've done for themselves.
I still, but you think of Doug Flutie, you think of Boston College.
You've got to get out. You got to get your mind out of the 80s.
Tebow.
You got your mind out of the 80s and 90s politically. Now you got to get it out of the 80s and 90s from an athletic standpoint.
Gen X, we struggle with a lot of stuff, Vic. We want the rotary phone coming back.
Yeah, we should call this the Two Grumpy Old Men and One Grumpy Old Immigrant podcast right now. Yeah.
One grumpy old immigrant.
It's so true.
Yeah. It just shows you it doesn't matter where you come from. We're all Americans and believe like the same crap, right?
Yeah.
So so.
I love it.
I feel nostalgic for some reason.
Hey, Bogdan.
I'm with you know.
Oh my God.
We become our parents, you know.
You could have been somebody. You could have transferred to Nebraska or something like that.
No, I couldn't have.
You could have transferred to USC.
I barely got on the field at Missouri. When I did, it was good. It took me.
You're like Tony Twist.
It took me to my junior year to even start playing outside of special teams.
Well, you know, Vic, if you didn't have to wear helmets and they could see your beautiful face, you would have played.
Yeah, there we go. There we go.
He was always daydreaming about the guy reporting on the sideline.
Hey, Bogdan, you know. Bogdan, my claim to fame was scoring the first touchdown in the Larry Smith era. There you go.
That's very nice.
The very first touchdown.
Yeah,
that's very nice.
What a great human being. God rest him.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Love Larry. I love Larry. That's for sure. Hey, Bogdan, we appreciate it. Thank you for joining us. If anybody has any questions or knows people, you just never know. What's the best way to reach you, to contact you if it comes to their athletes or their student athletes?
Email's great. You know, bsusan, BSUSAN at midmissourilawyers.com, right? So B Susan. I'm like Johnny Cash song, Boy Named Sue, right? So yeah.
Love it. I love it from that standpoint. Real quick, Glenn says, are you seeing a bias when it comes to giving scholarships to white versus blacks? But it all depends. It depends on what people are looking for.
Just win, baby. It's like Al Davis.
It's who's ever best.
Yeah.
No doubt. Yep.
Okay.
Sports is a great equalizer. You know,
it sure is.
Yes, it is. Bogdan, have an awesome day. We appreciate you, my friend. I'll catch up with you later.
Pleasure. All right.
All right. Bogdan Suzan. Love talking to him when it comes to the NIL situation. And I'm glad. I know it wasn't straight politics or news, but we actually had more people watch.
You're in all this scholarship talk right now. That's got to be kind of fun.
It is, but it's also stressful.
What is his best prospect right now?
If you're talking about my son, Graham.
Yes.
I don't know. I mean, he's got the whole Eastern Michigan, Miami, Ohio, Army, Navy, Air Force, but we're dealing with the peanut allergy there. Northern Illinois, right on the cusp. Washington State, right on the cusp. Iowa,
Washington State,
Kansas,
as in Spokane, Washington.
Kansas State has now all of a sudden gotten very interested, but it's also weird because Graham is an athlete. You know, he's a 6'3", 185 kid that's fast.
Yeah.
But one school wants him at linebacker, another school wants him at safety, and then one school wants him at receiver. And he doesn't come out of the game. He plays offense, defense, and he returns punts. So the schools are trying to figure out what to do with him.
Yeah.
And I'm like, make sure they know
combine. Did he
wherever
combine?
you put me, I will succeed for you. Make sure these coaches know that. I will play whatever you want me to play.
Big statement.
He's
got to be better at one thing
and bring water until you put me on the field.
Don't be a jack of all trades, master of none. Do something.
But you do what they tell you to do.
You got to sit there for 4 hours doing your hand drill, just catching a football if you want to be a receiver.
By the way, no smoke at the Vatican yet. But
smoke.
But I was shocked when Iowa coach started saying, talking about $50,000 to come walk on.
Yeah.
That wasn't the days of walk-ons.
Well,
Walk-ons were not treated well. Now walk-ons are treated just like an ass. I'm like $50,000
yeah, but
a year.
break it down into $3,000 a month for living.
Well, no, it covers everything that you need.
$1,200 for food and board and all that stuff.
Yeah.
And,
It blew my mind.
It's worth it.
So that's where we are, buddy.
It's worth it.
I'll keep you posted.
It's on the depth chart. Get to number 1.
Yeah, exactly.
Do something with your life.
That would be nice.
Go to the portal.
I'll show him mine. I was like, listen.
Maybe one day you'll play at Mizzou. Maybe one day you'll play at Alabama.
Oh, I don't know. The last time there was a kid that looked like him as an athlete at Mizzou.
Ooh.
It's been over 20 years.
Yeah.
So we'll see.
Well, St. Louis kids have done well over at Mizzou, so maybe he's
yes
gonna go
and
there.
no. We'll see. Guys, we love you. Thanks for joining us today for the show. We went longer because we wanted to cover that. Wanted to get to our ads, of course. Wenty's in the Chesterfield Valley, 18,000 Chesterfield Airport Road. Work hard, play hard. You can find the food you like, the wings, the wings, the pizza, the smash burger, which is freaking amazing. They've got it all. They have tacos, Eric. I had no idea. The smoked beef, the wing. I mean, it goes on and on and on. Wenty's in the Chesterfield Valley. Also, when it comes to sandwiches, of course, our good friend Jonathan, Capriotti's, one of the best sandwich shops around in America. Capriotti's, I'm talking about the Bobby, which has been rated one of the top sandwiches in the country a few times. That's the turkey sandwich. Eric's not a fan of turkey. He stays away from that. And of course, the Philly cheesesteak and the Wagyu beef. It is absolutely amazing. And it's also grilling season. Rockwood charcoal.
It is.
Get your Rockwood charcoal. There's no better charcoal in America. You can get it at Ace Hardware around the country or all of your local stores throughout the St. Louis metropolitan area. It's all natural. Take a piece, put it in your hand, squeeze it, it breaks apart. You can't do that with most of the other charcoals because they're filled with dangerous fillers. Stay away. Also, get your real estate plans going. Christy, how's her real estate going?
Well,
Pretty
like
well.
everybody else right now, it's kind of slow, but
Megan's isn't. Megan's is
Megan,
rocking.
you.
She's busy.
Why
Give her a
I
call.
oughta.
314-249-1708. 314-249-1708. That's Megan at experience-re.com. Megan at experience-re.com. Give her a call, give her an email. She'll get you going, whether it's residential or commercial. Also, Eric, you joke about my face. See, I take care of it over at Aesthetica Med Spa. You got to go see Tasha and
Now,
the
why
crew.
would you admit that on air?
Because I have no shame. The podcast business has shown me no shame.
So awesome.
We beg,
All
we
right.
plead.
All right, now that you're going to
We
bring
might
it up.
even steal.
Yeah.
Go to canceltheshow.com and click on donate to help our free speech platform.
So these people put needles in your face?
Yeah, they do every now and then to help me, age gracefully.
What's your favorite? Is that a picture of you in the bottom right there?
No, that's not. It's literally found right off 40 and Winghaven Boulevard.
I know exactly where it is.
It's right there, Eric. You go
Yeah.
in, they'll take care of you.
What's
Say,
the best service they
Vic,
have?
Say Vic told me it all depends on what you need.
Mm.
Say go in and say Vic Faust.
Yeah.
Says I need to come in here and get a fresh face.
I'll just go, do you know who I am? you know who I am? No, anyway, never mind.
Oh my God, that's the best. Also, if you're a business and you need to take care of cybersecurity, check out Alliance Tech. Use this website, use this link. It'll help you. AllianceTech.com/cancel this. AllianceTech.com/cancel this. Cybersecurity is a huge deal, especially for businesses right now. You want to make sure you get an assessment and take care of it. Give Brian a call over there. Let him know we sent you. He'll take care of you. And we are grateful for everybody jumping in on the show today. Eric, thank you for coming in today last minute. We're grateful.
I want to do an NIL show next time I'm here.
You can do shows.
Do an NIL show.
We told you, you can do whatever shows you ever want when you come in here.
It's
We just have to pay Joe first time, but you can do whatever you want.
You're going to be pissed off when your starting quarterback leaves to go to a better team.
Because it happens. It's part of college football.
I get it in NFL, but I don't
It's
get
over.
it. Man.
It's over, buddy. Those days
All
of
right.
college are done. We'll
Could
see if
you
Donald Trump
imagine if
gets
there was a
involved.
portal in your favorite band? What if Eddie Van Halen left Van Halen to go to?
We're
play
doing a
with-
trade.
With we got a
You have
trade.
your draft, like music night, draft night.
Eddie just joined.
A trade
Eddie-
is in.
Eddie just joined Def Leppard.
Def Leppard has traded. Holy crap, that's funny.
Chris Cornell went to the rock and roll portal, and now he is in Journey.
Oh my God.
It would suck.
But
would
it could be
suck.
good. You never know what greatness could be created.
No, it would suck.
Who should have been
The
with
rock and
who?
roll portal.
Oh my God, the rock and roll
Yes,
portal.
yes.
Who should have been
Beyonce
there?
went to the rock and roll portal. Now she's in Taylor Swift.
Oh my God.
It's a backup dancer.
It probably would have been good when the boy bands were popular in the late 90s.
Oh, that would have been good.
Early 2000s.
Yes.
That where you could have had interchangeable parts.
Boys to Men from 98 Degrees. Isn't that one of them? I don't know.
Bobby Brown is now joining
Yes.
98 Degrees.
I had thought they were all in the same band anyway back
Oh my
then.
God.
Coming out of retirement from Kajagoogoo. Join-
Shiny shine. Is that their song? Hush
It's the
Hush.
only one they
Yeah.
had.
All right. There we go.
Oh, that is funny. That could be an entire episode on Saturday Night Live.
All right, guys, for Eric Johnson and Projo behind the scenes, I'm Vic Faust. Thanks for joining this episode of cancelthisshow.com. Appreciate you being with us here every day as well and throughout all of our platforms. If you want to support our free speech platform, of course, you can do it at cancelthisshow.com. There's a donate button. We're grateful for you guys supporting us in all the ways that you do, especially joining us and jumping in on the People's Podcast platform. Grateful, grateful, grateful. Guys, have an awesome day, and we'll catch up with you guys next time. And also special thanks to lawyer Bogdan Suzan out of Columbia, Missouri. He is a defense attorney there and also works with NIL as he educated us today on what's actually happening. All right. Have an awesome day. Eric, are you performing anywhere this weekend?
Just Cyberg Saturday night.
Oh, it's Cyberg Saturday at what, like 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock?
Yes. Uh-huh. Same deal. Yeah.
We can see the new and improved Eric in his spandex.
Yes. New clothes.
Out. See you guys later.
Bye.
Folks, today's a big conversation. I'm your host, Dr. Eric Dupuy.